Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Hello everybody, I hope that you're doing well. Today we're going to work on Surah Al-ALAQ, which is Surah 96. Surah Al-ALAQ is one of my favorite among so many. I like it because it emphasizes on the basic things that we tend to forget, that we tend to underestimate. And the first thing is our ability to read, our ability to learn, our ability to write, to comprehend how we've been created with a privilege, with something that is different from the other creatures in the world. Because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has decided to give us these beautiful blessings, which is iqra, and also to be able to speak, to talk. But unfortunately, we tend to underestimate that and to forget those blessings. So this is one of my favorite surah. Surah Al-ALAQ, or the adherence, some call it also the claw. Its name, Al-ALAQ, comes from the second ayah, which indicates the creation of human beings from a blood cloth. It is made of 19 ayat, and it was sent down in the city of Mecca. And it was the first to be revealed to the Prophet Sayyidina Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And the first 5 ayat were said to have been revealed to Sayyidina Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam in the cave of Al-Hira during the month of Ramadan. Surah Al-ALAQ talks about the creation of a human being, his evolution, and the benefits that God has granted him. The surah mentions that despite all of those blessings, which is the ability to read and to think, all of these blessings, the human being has the tendency to be ungrateful towards Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Surah Al-ALAQ also mentions the severe punishment that awaits those who prevent others from being correct or from going into the right path. Surah Al-ALAQ is also one of the surat that contains the ayah of sujud, which requires prostration, either after reciting the verse or after listening to it. In this surah, the verse which requires prostration, sujud, is the last verse, the last ayah. As sujud, it is recommended to do a takbir and to say Allahu Akbar, and then to prostrate and say Subhana Rabbil A'la, Subhana Rabbil A'la, Subhana Rabbil A'la, 3 or more times. You should know that in the Quran al-Karim, there are 15 ayat or 15 verses where it is recommended to make a sujud. There are several invocations that are recommended to be said at the time of a sujud, but the one I like is the following, which means in English, my face bowed down before Allah who created it. It gave it hearing and sight by His strength and power. Glory to be to Allah, the best of creators. So in Arabic it's سجد وجهي للذي خلقه وشق سمعه وبصره بحوله وقوته فتبارك الله أحسن الخالقين. سجد وجهي للذي خلقه وشق سمعه وبصره بحوله وقوته فتبارك الله أحسن الخالقين. سجد وجهي للذي خلقه وشق سمعه وبصره بحوله وقوته فتبارك الله أحسن الخالقين. Surah Al-ALAQ is divided into 2 distinct parts. The first part includes verses 1 to verses 5, and the second part, verses 6 to verses 19. The first part of Surah Al-ALAQ constitutes the very first revelation descended on An-Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam. As for the second part, it appeared when the Prophet Sayyidina Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam was beginning to perform the prayers on the path of Islam in the Kaaba. And Abu Jahl, one of the nastiest Qurayshit, threateningly tried to stop him. Abu Jahl and the other Qurayshid, who were intrigued to see him establish his prayer, threatened him and tried to stop him. The first part, which is ayah 1 to ayah 5, everything started one day in the cave of Al-Hira, in the surrounding of the city of Mecca. The revelation appeared to Sayyidina Muhammad ﷺ unexpectedly. The angel Gabriel, Sayyidina Jibreel, said to him, "Read." And the Prophet would have said, "I'm not one of those who know how to read." And then Sayyidina Jibreel took him and squeezed him very hard until he couldn't take it anymore. He then released him and said to him, insisting, "Read." The Prophet Sayyidina Muhammad answered again, "I can't read. I don't know how to read." And at the third take, Sayyidina Jibreel said to him, "Iqra bismi rabbika alladhi khalaq." Read in the name of your Lord who created. As Sayyidina Muhammad ﷺ came home to his wife Lalla Khadija, trembling with fear, and said to her, "Cover me, please, cover me." And he was covered. When the fear left him, he asked Lalla Khadija, "What is happening to me?" He then told her what happened and said, "I fear for my life." She said to him, "Oh, never, by God. God will never put you down because you consider your loved ones with kindness. You always tell the truth. You give back what you have entrusted to yourself. You bear the burden of the weak. You help the poor. You welcome guests. And you participate in good work." So she took him to Waraqa ibn Nawfal. Waraqa ibn Nawfal was Lalla Khadija's paternal cousin. Waraqa was a very old and blind man. He was very wise. He had converted to Christianity during the pre-Islamic era. When Waraqa heard what happened to Sayyidina Muhammad ﷺ, he immediately thought that the angel in question is the one who descended on Sayyidina Musa, peace and blessing be upon him. In other words, according to him, Sayyidina Muhammad ﷺ was such a sublime man that it was not surprising that he was elevated to the rank of a prophet. Waraqa is said to have told the Nabi ﷺ, "I wish I had been a young man during your prophecy. I would like to be alive when your tribe hunts you." And the Holy Prophet, peace and blessing be upon him, reacted and said to him in fear, "Will they drive me out?" Waraqa replied, "Never has a man brought what you will bring without being persecuted. If I still live that day, I will help you." But unfortunately, soon after, Waraqa died. Even before the arrival of the angel Sayyidina Jibreel, and Nabi, Sayyidina Muhammad ﷺ, was intimately aware of what his life, his business and behavior was like. The second part of Surah Al-ALAQ was revealed when Nabi ﷺ began to perform the prayers on the path of Islam in the Kaaba. Abu Jahl, one of the most virulent Qurayshi, threatened him and tried to prevent him from praying. After being appointed, Nabi ﷺ began to perform prayers around the Kaaba on the way that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala taught him through Sayyidina Jibreel. The Qurayshi felt for the first time that they had adopted a new religion. Others looked intrigued. Some looked at him curiously. On the other hand, Abu Jahl, full of arrogance and pride, threatened him. Abu Jahl reportedly said, "If I caught him performing prayer in front of the Kaaba, I would make him bite the dust." And Nabi ﷺ performed his prayer at Maqam Ibrahim al-Khalil, which is the station of Sayyidina Ibrahim in Al-Kaaba. Abu Jahl, pacing by, said, "Have I not forbidden you to do this?" In response, and Nabi ﷺ reprimanded him severely. Then Abu Jahl said with arrogance, "What are you threatening me with? I have the most numerous clan in the valley, or the most numerous tribe in the valley." This is why the ayah gives an answer to Abu Jahl. Let him call his tribe or his clan. We will call the archangels. Now I'm going to translate Surah Al-Alaq ayah by ayah. Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. In the name of Allah, the entirely merciful, the specially merciful. Iqra bismi rabbika alladhi khalaq. Read in the name of your Lord who created. Khalaq al-insana min alaq. He created the human being from al-alaq, an embryo. Iqra wa rabbuka al-akram. Read, and your Lord is the owner of the greatest honor. Read, your Lord is most noble. Alladhi allama bil qalam. That he thought with al-qalam, which is the pen. Allama al-insana ma lam ya'lam. He has taught the human being what he did not know. And this is the first part of Surah Al-Alaq. This is happening in the cave of Al-Hira. The angel of revelation then appeared before Sayyidina Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, saying, "Read in the name of your master who created man from adhesion." These verses are the first to descend. They are the first divine mercy granted to man, the first blessings that God granted us. This divine blessing draws attention to the fact that the creation of man begins with an adhesion, and to the fact that God made man learn science. This is the measure of knowledge that distinguishes Sayyidina Adam from the angels and from all creatures. Knowledge resides in the mind, or in the tongue, or in writing with the hand. Knowledge is therefore mental, but expressed by language. It is transcribed. This is why it is said that he who thought by the pen taught men what men did not know. كلا إن الإنسان لا يطغى. No, human most surely goes rampant. أن رآه استغنى. Because of seeing himself self-sufficient, not being in need of anything, even Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. إِنَّا إِلَى رَبِّكَ الرُّجْعَى. Surely to your Lord is the return. أَرَأَيْتَ الَّذِي يَنْهَى. Have you seen the one who prevents? عَبْدًا إِذَا صَلَّى. When one of his servants performs his prayer. أَرَأَيْتَ إِنْ كَانَ عَلَى الْهُدَى. Have you seen if that servant is upon hidayat, which is good path? أَوْ أَمَرَ بِالتَّقْوَى. Or commended the piety. أَرَأَيْتَ إِنْ كَذَّبَ وَتَوَلَّى. Have you seen if he belied and turned away? أَلَمْ يَعْلَمْ بِأَنَّ اللَّهَ يَرَى. Does he not know that Allah sees him? كَلَّا لَئِنْ لَمْ يَنْتَهِي لَنَصْفَعًا بِنَاصِيَةٍ. No, if he does not desist, we shall catch or drag him to the forelock or forehead. نَاصِيَةٍ كَاذِبَةٍ خَاطِئَةٍ. A lying sinful forehead or forelock. فَلْيَدْعُ نَادِيَهُ. Then let him call upon his counsel or upon his helpers. سَنَدْعُ الزَّبَانِيَةَ. We shall soon call the guards of hell. كَلَّا لَا تُطِعْهُ وَاسْجُدْ وَاقْتَرِبْ. No, do not obey him, and prostrate yourself and draw near to Allah. From verses 11 to 13, the verses, do you think that forbidding a worshipper to pray, it's about Abu Jahl. He threatened the Prophet Sayyidina Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam because of the prayer he was making near the house of Allah, fil Kaaba, Bit Allah al-Haram. What do you think if the one who you upset is on the right track with what he is doing? He who opposes the Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam does not know that God sees him, hears his words. He will be punished with what he's done. We will catch him on the day of resurrection. Let him therefore call his assembly, the verses that he calls his clan, all his tribe supporting him. They will be of no help. The last one, no, do not obey him, but bow down and come closer. Prostrate yourself and God brings you closer, because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is your protector and your support. The worshipper is very close to God when he prostrates himself, so multiply the invocations. Surah Al-Alaq proves the power of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and shows that He who is able to create man from a simple component is quite capable of teaching him everything that he was ignorant of, such as writing, reading, science, communication. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala generously granted knowledge to man. Surah Al-Alaq invites believers not to follow in the footsteps of the obstinate who deny any closeness to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. In conclusion, the surah evokes several fundamental notions of human existence. It invites all believers to read it and learn. Surah Al-Alaq begins with a command to recite. The beginning of the prophecy of Sayyidina Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam with this order means that this mission was accompanied with a scientific movement and a call for knowledge, teaching us how to learn and how to have access to knowledge with al-qalam. Wallahu a'lam wa sadaqallahu al-azim. I hope that this small explanation and small translation of Surah Al-Alaq was helpful. I wish you the best. Wassalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Bye bye.